You may have heard that Kia is getting a ute. In this video, we're going to have a quick chat about who the ad is for, what the purpose of the ad is, and whether or not we think it's going to be effective. Now, if you haven't seen the advertisements on YouTube or on social media or heard them through Spotify and other audio platforms, essentially it's a collection of some of Australia's either most famous or highest profile retired athletes sitting around a pub in Tasmania discussing what the name of this new ute from Kia should be called. Now, if you haven't seen the commercial, then that's an indication that the Kia ute is probably not targeting you. And if we have a look at the way that the ad is being compiled in terms of the personalities and the fact that most of the athletes in the ad are retired, it suggests that the target market is the 35 to 55-year-old age group. In all likelihood, men, although there may be a secondary focus on the female buying market. Now, obviously only those inside Kia will be able to confirm or deny that, but essentially that would be the basis of who this Kia ute is targeting. So what's the point of the ad, given that they don't actually have a product to demonstrate or display? Well, it's essentially about hype and interest. We suspect that Kia has looked into the market and possibly learnt a few things from Mercedes's effort of trying to launch a ute into that particular classification of motor vehicle a few years ago, and how that didn't go particularly well. And we suspect that the need to build buzz and hype is hopefully going to, well, for Kia's sake, is hopefully going to alleviate some of the barriers to entry in terms of purchasing power, when we consider that the top 3 vehicles sold last year were Toyota Hilux, the Ford Ranger, and the Isuzu D-Max. So if you're coming into a market that has got 3 powerful incumbents, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to present a new option and expect that to sell well immediately. So we suspect that what Kia is trying to do here is to build buzz and create interest so that at least when it's released, people will be paying attention. Whether or not they like it, whether or not it actually provides value to that particular demographic or that target market or that industry is to be seen. But the first thing that they need to achieve is to get people interested in paying attention so that when they do release it, it becomes news and people are talking about it. Now, as for whether or not we think the advertisement or the campaign in general is going to work, it depends on how we're going to define success. If we're looking at measuring buzz and interest and eyeballs and engagement and potentially even like subscribing to alerts and things like that, we suspect it probably will, because the ad, if you're in that target market, is almost a fantasy for men 35 to 55. So in terms of trying to build that interest, yes, we believe it will be successful. In terms of whether or not it's actually going to affect sales, it's almost impossible to draw that parallel. Getting interest is obviously very important, but we suspect that Kia will be taking a 5 to 10 year view of trying to get into the top 5 utes and moving their way up accordingly as the products develop over the course of the next few years, as trust develops and so on. To try and displace the top 3 is going to be a big ask, particularly in the short term. So the effect that this campaign is going to have on sales is going to be undefined and largely going to have to be sort of recalibrated once the ute is actually released. Thank you for watching. Keep an eye on our social media channels for more marketing tips and observations.